Hello everyone, it's Kari from sunshineinmypocket.com back on the channel to share a couple of fun cards using this new set from Missing Stamps. This is Robot Life, and here's one of the cards I made previously. I used some vellum and colored it with a Copic marker, and then I also used a couple of the elements from the Postage Seal and Shaker collection die. And the background is that stencil, the brand new stencil called Need Input. But today I'm going to make two different ideas of cards with this set, and I'm starting with the Scene Builder Treeline stencil. This stencil is perfect for making a forest background, and I love it because it's long, so you could make a slimline card if you wanted to. You can also just shift the position of the trees. Whoops, I need to fix that there. I'm holding this down with my magnets, so it's really easy to pick those magnets up and move it. And another thing I love about the stencil is there are two different edges that you could use. So the trees look different on this edge than the other edge, which I'm going to switch to in just a minute. And I'm starting out with the lightest color of green, and then I'm moving to this mid-tone green. And next I'm going to turn it around completely, and I'm going to use the darkest green on this one. So we get a variation in color, a variation in the look of the trees, and this is going to be an easy way to create a background for my panel here. So there's our background. I'm also going to add some blue for the skyline, just a little bit of blue here, not too much so I don't cover those trees, but just enough to give that hint of a beautiful day. So we've got the background panel here done. Let's go ahead and stamp out our images that we need. And you'll see that this is a pretty quick card to make. I am going to stamp a few of the butterflies and also that robot. This robot makes me smile. It is a really fun design and fun to color also. So I'm using some Copic friendly ink to stamp this down. That's so I can color it up with some Copics later. And you can see I stamped about 5 of those butterflies. So I just moved that stamp around and stamped it 5 times. For this particular one, I'm going to use some darker grays, starting with neutral grays. This is the N5 here. And I'm going to color this darker than I did the first robot that I showed you in that first card. And I'm leaving part of this in just to show you how fun and easy it is to color. Now I'm moving down to the N3. And if you can tell, I have a little bit of a cold today. So my voice is giving that away. So I'm blending this through. I'm going to go in with this is the N3 that I'm using right now, just blending that out, adding a little bit of detail around the edges here and to that little wheel. And now I'm going to go in with an N1 and blend the rest of it through. And I'll do the same kind of technique throughout this robot. So I'm not going to leave all of it in, but just so you can see. We'll just start with dark, medium, and light. I'm also going to add a little bit of blue to him today, and we'll make some of those buttons on the front blue and also his little backpack blue. But there's lots of different ways you can color up this robot, make it really fun. On my last card that I create today, I am going to color him even differently than this one. So I'll finish up bringing in those blues here. You can see just like that, adding a few other details, and that's all there is to it. It's very fun. For the butterflies, I'm going to color them up with oranges. So I'm starting with this darker orange. This is YR04. And then I'm going to blend that out with an even lighter orange. So I'll bring in this light one here. It is YR00, I believe. And just blend that through. And then I'll add some more details to the butterflies in a few minutes. I'm going to bring in the coordinating dies now and cut those out. I'm really glad this one in particular has a coordinating die. I think that one would be a little more tricky to fussy cut. And then I'll use this one on the butterflies as well, run those through my die cutting machine, and now you can see we can build this card together. So I just add a little bit of liquid adhesive for those butterflies. I also stamped on the sentiment that says, "It's a great day to be alive." And I thought that was really cute with this one. Here's a closer look, and I'm going to cut this panel down so that I can add a border with a darker blue around the edges. So I'll just cut a little bit on each end here. Normally I would do this first, but of course I waited until after I had everything attached. But it worked out just fine, and I've got this beautiful blue cardstock. I thought before I would use that as a mask, I wanted to cut something out of the center of it so I wouldn't waste the center of that cardstock. And this is going to be something we use on the second card today. So I've cut out the alphabet from this die set right here. I'll have everything linked below, by the way. And this now can be turned into a card. So there we go. Just for some details now, I'm bringing in a new white paint pen that I found. And actually, Heidi from Missing Stamps turned me on to this particular one. I like it so far. I've been using it for about a week now and testing it out, and it's been pretty great. So I'm just drawing in some little butterfly flying lines, little trails, if you will. And I know it's hard to see because it's so small and it doesn't show up as well on that light, but look here, I'm showing you a little close-up. Some black dots for those butterflies as well, and that's going to add just some fun little detail to this card. It's a very simple card. Let's move on to the second one. I've already used that Need Input stencil with some dark gray on a red cardstock, and I'm going to cut out that the largest postage frame from that and use it as a frame. Now you could use the center if you want, but for the center I wanted it to be a lot lighter. So I'm bringing the same stencil in and using some Distress Oxide and tumbled glass for my center, and then I'll have that red be the outside of the frame there. So I'm going to add this little robot. I colored him a little bit lighter this time and a little different than the first two times I colored him. So each time I'm challenging myself to color him a little bit differently. And I'm going to use this as the basis for our card, and I'm just going to test out how that's going to fit. This time I'm going to make it a vertical card, and I'm using some of these little clover dies that come free with your Missing Stamps order this month. So if you didn't receive that, no worries. There's some other small dies you can use. I've got the small little slug, candy slug here, and a little frog. You could use those. I decided I just wanted to stick with the clovers, so he's like standing in a field of clovers. Then I'm bringing in the small postmark stamps to add forever there. So it's going to say forever alive. And one thing I wanted to do was add these cancellation marks to the background. I almost wish I would have made these a little bit lighter so it was more subtle, but it's kind of like no cancellation, always staying alive. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it might to some of you out there, especially if you've seen a certain movie that this robot kind of resembles. I can't say it. So this is kind of my layout here. I've stamped that forever stamp in a blue ink, and now I'm going to pop that postage frame up with some foam tape. This is nice thin foam tape. I'm going to pop that up around the edges there. I'll add this one to the center, and then we can start putting this card together. I love the different variation in color with that stencil. It's a really fun stencil to use. So now I'll just add a little bit of glue to those cancellation marks. This die actually comes in the Postage Seal and Shaker collection, the same die set that postage frame is from here. So I'm going to add those real quick first, and then I'll add a little glue to our alive sentiment, and we'll add that right to the top there. And then we can add our little forever sentiment. Now I'm pulling the tape off right now while it's still wet, so if I need to adjust where those are, I can do that. I decided I need a little bit of foam tape in the center of this forever just to give it some support there. because the edges are going to be on the frame that is popped up, but the center of it is going to be in the center of the panel. So a little foam tape will really help with that. Now I can put this little robot down. I'm going to add some highlights with that white paint pen that I love. That'll help this to stand out just a little bit more from that dark gray cancellation mark. And now let's go ahead and add some liquid adhesive to this little robot guy. We'll add him down, and then I'm going to add some clovers in his hands and then some all around as well. So he is going to be in a field of clovers. I set those little slugs and frogs aside. I'm going to use those on a different card, not on this one today, because I just wanted this one to be a little bit more lucky. Although I think that this little robot might like frogs and slugs as much as he likes butterflies. I finished adding that together, and here's a closer look. I did cut those clovers out of a sparkly green cardstock. I love the look of that. And here's our second card, or the first one we made actually, and here's the first one I made earlier off screen. So a lot of different looks you can get, a lot of things you can do with this little stamp set. I love it so much. I think it's a really fun one to color as well. See, I added a little red to the center of him to mimic the red on the frame of this one. So a lot of fun to be had, and thank you so much for stopping by today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back soon with more card inspiration and more fun. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.